I'd like to introduce everybody to one of my former clients, Sophie, who's just finished in my 90-day program. Sophie and I met at a seminar that I did, a live seminar I did, and then it was quite a while between that and actually when we started. But she's been following myself and quite a few other people, it turns out, for a while. And I'll let Sophie tell the story. I'm just going to ask Sophie some questions, and so if any other information you feel like interjecting, please feel free. I love talking to you guys to talk about where you were and then what's happened and what's changed, but also what you got out of it. And if you can shed a light on anyone else's journey, then that would be excellent as well. So before Soph came to me, she was specialising in one-on-ones. She's in Queensland, and she actually came from a very high position in a corporate company, is what I'll say about that. You can fill everybody in if you'd like to. So it's also a pleasure to work with somebody who's got such determination, and she'd already set up quite a few systems. She had a website. She'd had spent money on Google Ads. She was in demand and kind of signing people up and had a few programs going, etc. Didn't you already when we met? Yeah, you were really, really well planned, which is really, really approached it from a very professional perspective, which was, again, very impressive and something that you don't usually see because it's not taught in the courses, is it? It's just actually, it's you. You already knew from a business perspective how you wanted to set this thing up. But as far as what you didn't know, where were you in your personal training business, and what was it that you actually wanted to do?
So I wanted to start running group fitness, which in the year since I graduated, I'd only been doing one-on-ones. And so I knew I needed to grow, but I didn't really know how to reach that number of people.
Yeah. When you say that number of people, how many people were you trying to sign up? Because how are you actually delivering your sessions as well? Because everyone's in a different situation.
So I wanted to run group classes of anywhere to I started thinking, 5 or 10 people through to up to 15 to 20 people. That was what I was envisaging for my business.
Yeah. And how many one-on-one sessions were you doing when we met?
Oh, I think I was doing about 20. I'm not sure at the time. I think
I
was doing...
And sorry, I should frame this a little bit better. Sophie's actually a mum as well. And actually, when we started, you were actually taking care of a lot of children, weren't you? Yeah. So because people often use the excuse that they don't have any time, they have multiple children. Well, Sophie's had like multiple children that she was looking after in her house, some that were hers, some that weren't hers. So she's one of the busier people that I've ever met, and she still had the structure and the desire to be able to do this, and the caring aspect. So, and I know from the stories that you were telling me with some of your clients and the results that you'd gotten with some of them and how much they loved you, and you can just actually feel when somebody's talking to you on the phone about that stuff, how much you love them, how much you love the client and the change. So it's not really been from my perspective of helping you, it's not really been a hard journey of helping you to implement programs, etc. So was there any what position were you in, I guess, from an emotional and business and financial perspective? Was there a rock bottom where you decided, okay, I've actually just got to get help? And what was that?
So not long after I met you, and I think probably this is what triggered me to sign up to the program, I was in overwhelm. Emotionally at home. We'd taken custody of 4 kids. I was in overwhelm financially, things just, obviously from the home situation and that sort of thing. And I felt like I didn't have time for trial and error. I didn't have time to go and try all these things myself. I just needed someone who had done it before, who knew it worked, who could tell me what to do. And I'd made a commitment to myself that when I found that person, I would just say yes to what they said to do. So I knew that when I found you, I was like, I'm just going to say yes to what Kate tells me to do because it works. I know it works, and I'm not going to waste any time trial and erroring things on my own.
I've got goosebumps. Actually, do you know what is such an important part of anybody looking to do anything with anybody is actually that choice to switch on and be coachable, isn't it? And it's the same thing, I suppose, it's definitely the same thing that you want from your clients as a coach.
Yeah.
That coaches want from their clients as a coach. You want to be able to tell them because you know what the fastest way is for them to get results.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it, that you can identify, okay, I'm in this position. Interesting. What do you mean you're in overwhelm?
Well, taking care of multiple children that were, had come from a
Uh,
difficult situation. So
yeah.
emotionally, I was stretched. And yeah, I was probably financially stretched as well. And I was thinking, I never had a thought about giving up. I know that I'm in the right career, like this is what I'm meant to be doing. But it was more just like, okay, I really need to get this ball rolling.
Yeah. Yeah, good. Thank you for explaining. I can't believe actually how much time people really do spend in overwhelm and in trial and error. Like I just opened an email from a friend who name's Kate as well, and she's just talking about all the money that she's spent on coaches, etc., over the years. And I mean, exactly the same. It speeds up the process, and it really, really, really should speed up the process. Who else were you following? Like, why was there a decision to go, okay, I'm going to use you, which I'm very flattered with, but why was that?
Because your advice is so specific and it's so relative to what I was doing. It was something that you'd said. It might have been in one of your marketing, in one of your ads. You've moved 11 times and you've had to start your business from scratch, something like 11 times. And so I thought, you've moved suburbs or whatever it was that had happened. And I thought, okay, this person knows how to start a business from zero, and that's what I need. Whereas the other people I was following, they might have. It just wasn't as specific. Their advice wasn't as specific. It didn't speak to me and what I needed.
Yeah. What Sophie's talking about, guys, is I'm constantly talking about how to grow really fast when you get to a suburb, and what she's talking about is true. I can't remember if it's 9, 10, or 11. I lost count. And not because it was an unstable family or anything like that, guys. There were just family commitments, my partner's work commitments, relative commitments, stopping and starting in different industries. And I have to say, most of that was done without technology, without the computer, without social media. So what I like to teach you guys is, now you know how to use a system where it wouldn't matter if the computer or social media exploded. You know how to use that stuff to obviously exaggerate what you're doing and to exaggerate building relationships and get your message out there, because it's great, because it's free. However, if the platforms change, if the climate change, if the financial climate changes, it really should be irrelevant. Weight loss is one of the most, it is, I think it's the second biggest industry in the world, isn't it? And it's probably, maybe it's either the second or the third, and alternates between food, consumption of food, and cosmetics and beauty. And we're kind of in there with weight loss, in we. And even though the majority of the girls, I have to say this as well, that I work with are not into body shaming and making people feel bad about their bodies, and we're not, we make them feel better. And most of you guys have holistic programs. I know you do as well, quite a few different programs. And now you're looking at new things and going into schools and opening up a premises and lots of exciting things. It's weird, isn't it? The sky's the limit of how many programs, etc., that you can create. So was there a moment that you actually felt skeptical and you just said, I'm just going to do it? Or had you decided before we even had that conversation?
No, I felt skeptical with the free seminar because so many of these other people that offer the free seminar, there's a hook, or they hold it ransom, and at the end you've got to buy some program before you can get the rest of the info. So I was a little bit skeptical, and I thought, I know, I'm going to come along anyway. I'll take it. This is what I need, right? So something's calling me to go. And you just gave away so much information at the seminar, and there was no hook. At the end, it was like, okay, thanks for coming. I hope you got heaps out of it. And I was like, there was no pressure. You weren't trying to sell us into something bigger.
And it's funny, I still now, I think it's very Australian that we don't like that. I don't know why. It's still now, when I have American coaches, nothing against the American market, but it just operates very different to us. They still do teach that method. It still needs to be done that way. It's still, buy now or forever lose your whatever. I don't know what you lose.
You dropped it into conversation and it just seemed really natural. And that was sort of like, I said, okay, there's another program and I'll look into that. In my mind, I said, I'll look into that later. So,
yeah, which Australians tend to like to do. And actually, which just brings up another whole conversation around sales, because it should and it does get to feel ethical like that. How did you find just learning about that process?
Well, I trusted you. I then felt trust. I felt that you're actually genuinely wanting to help people. This is not just about selling a program that's going to make you mass you know, millions. It's you genuinely wanted to help people.
Yeah, just like you guys. It's weird how women want to do that, isn't it? And actually, you should be skeptical. I wish, and this is always what I've wanted for personal training clients as well, that we need to educate them about this is how you should choose your own coach, whether it's a business coach or whether it's a coach helping you with your body. There are definitely questions to ask. And I think one of the most powerful things that's overlooked is people not getting their message out there wherever it is, whether it's walking into shops to meet people and build relationships or if it's on social media. We can't overlook the power of the relationship and establishing that and establishing yourself as the authority, but first wanting to give, which is you have to want to give. I can't believe the amount of books that are around now telling people to be a nice person and to give first.
Yes.
What?
Like it doesn't come naturally.
Yes, if it doesn't come naturally, I don't know. Maybe there's the MBA on how to be a nice person or something. Hey, we should create that.
Well, I think we get so sort of set on, okay, I've got to make sales. How can I make sales? And then people lose track a little bit of the human aspect of going, all right, what does this person need from me before I offer them what I can do for them?
It's true.
Lost a little bit in the past, I think.
Yeah, and actually, the training's archaic actually in this industry, full stop. In this industry, I'm not sure really about other industries. I know sometimes different industries can be a little bit further ahead. I know ours they're still talking about things from 20 years ago. They're still overcoming 15 objections or 20 objections or following somebody up that many times, which really just means, guys, if you're talking about a sales conversation, it means you probably haven't built rapport. And if that rapport takes 12 months to build, remember I was saying this to someone the other day, if that person's off the lounge and they're doing some kind of exercise and you've enlightened them with what's possible and that they can know that goal that they want to achieve is possible, that's a win. Whether they sign up with you or not is irrelevant. Don't be so attached to that as the one outcome. Women do this really well, actually, not being attached to that outcome, I've noticed, but not to generalize, and I don't dislike men, but, they're much more target orientated usually.
Yeah.
But chicks get to wear that hat as well.
Yeah.
How do you go actually, I'm going to turn Facebook off, actually wearing that hat of you're running a business, you're female, you're a mother, you do a lot for your daughter at home, you do a lot for a spouse and the community, and then you have to put your corporate hat on and go, actually, I need to make this amount of sales. What are some of the secrets that you could share with someone? Because you've gone from the perspective of actually having a lot of overwhelm to what do I critically need to do to market my business and then also balance my life?
It doesn't feel corporate anymore. I feel like the corporate life is so far behind. And so now thinking about sales and marketing in the business that I'm doing now, it's coming from more of a heart-centered place about, okay, who am I talking to and how can I help these people? And a lot of the clients that come to me are people who don't want to go to big commercial gyms. They don't feel comfortable there. They want to come to someone where they're getting that one-on-one personalized attention. They're not just a number. And so it doesn't feel corporate to me.
It's definitely not corporate, and that's the background that you came from. I mean, you've still got to wear a business hat, haven't you? You've still got to track your statistics. You've still got to look at whether you're getting proper return from the energy and the output and the money that you're putting into things.
Yeah.
And I guess, probably nothing to do with me, or maybe you learned some tips, but how are you as a person? If you could give a piece of advice to these people that are actually in overwhelm at the moment and probably in the same perspective that you were coming from as well, what are some things that could help them to deal with overwhelm and balancing their life and balancing with growing a business? Do you think? Just off the top of your head. Just thought I'd throw that one at you.
Self-care. You have to get back to self-care. I think part of my overwhelm was that I was putting out so much for everybody else. And as soon as I started putting some time and effort back into myself and my own interests, that was where I felt things balanced out a lot. I had more energy. And I felt like I had a bit more that I could give then. If you top yourself up first, then you've got more to give others. Yeah.
It's the same as the principles that we're teaching people, isn't it? Yeah. And it's harder to implement yourself when you're not being held accountable, just like any system, really. So I know we've talked about a couple of potential projects that you've got in the works.
Yep.
Now that you're busy with group training,
Yep.
and busy with, like you just said before we got on this call, busy with a whole influx of new clients, etc. What's happening for you? What have you got on the horizon for the future?
I'm really passionate about teenagers getting into sort of their health and nutrition at a young age, you know, rather than them learning later and trying to reverse it or trying to then lose weight, you know, in their early 20s and undo the damage. So I'd really, I'm looking at putting some programs into some local schools, like a health and happiness type program where it can help them deal with stress and sleep and nutrition and that sort of thing now. Because I think the age of sort of 14, 15, 16, they're facing so many pressures with social life and studies and things. So I want to teach them how to support themselves now before they get to overwhelm.
Yeah, amazing. So it's, while I want you guys, and I think it's really important that people do track their business, I'm really surprised with the number of people I speak to that want to take this seriously as a business, but they're not tracking any numbers. It's also important, as you mentioned, to come from a heart-centered place and to be able to do projects and create things that mean so much to you, because the money will come. But I'm not sitting here talking to you because we're still waiting for the money to come. What kind of impact has it had on you from a financial perspective? You don't have to give exact direct numbers, but has it been helpful?
Oh, working with you mean? Absolutely. Yep. Definitely. One of the main things you encouraged me to do is get everybody onto direct debit, for example, and that just helped immensely, where I could just be hands off with the financial side of things, and that's helped from a cash flow perspective as well. And obviously the numbers coming in has helped as well, but the software that I use helped with the tracking. I would definitely recommend people get some sort of software rather than manage it all manually, because there's reports and things that you can look at that give you an idea of really how you're performing. Like, I was able to make decisions based on some of these reports. Like, I was able to drop this class or change the time of that class because I could look at attendance reports and things like that.
Yeah, no one usually goes into one of those systems and then says, I'm not going to use that anymore, do they? Actually, I've never met anyone. It's sometimes hard to onboard those things. And I mean, guys, what we're talking about now is scaling so that you've really just got more time.
Yes.
And to be honest, most coaches go over that stuff anyway. But actually, what would be some of the pointers, Sophie? I'm going to ask you directly about this course. What are some of the pointers of things that you actually really got? So you went from doing one-on-ones to doing groups. You've got new projects and another exciting project that maybe we'll talk about when it actually, the 4 walls doors open.
Yeah.
What are some things that you really got out of the course?
The biggest thing I got was confidence. Confidence at running groups, talking to groups, holding seminars. That's been priceless, really, and I really enjoy that now. So, yeah, it was sort of this, in my mind, I don't know why I'd built it up as something that was big and scary, and then it actually wasn't. So that was the biggest thing I got out of it.
Awesome. It's the unknown, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the unknown. But then now you know how to promote that, do that, and actually turn that into income as well. Yeah. So, which is, again, priceless, regardless of the social media thing that you're going to do. And then she's using it as a platform to launch potentially online, the face-to-face venue, etc. Anything else that you want to say before we leave? And otherwise, I just have to thank you so much for your time today.
I just have to thank you right back. It's been, I highly recommend your program to anybody who's considering it. It's been a life changer.
Oh, thank you, Sophie.
Thanks,
wow,
Sophie.
Life changer. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, guys. If you've got any questions, feel free to post them below. I will put a link so that you can book a time to have a call with me if you'd like to do that. And otherwise, I'll talk to you guys in the group. Thanks again, Soph. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Kate. Bye.
Bye.